I will call to order the Transportation Committee meeting of August 3rd, 2021. Lon Dean, I want to welcome you. This is the first roll call, so take it away.
Actually, since it is she started yesterday, so we're going to continue with Jonathan, and then the next meeting we'll bring her on full time.
Okay.
So, boy, she just got really nervous. All right, John, call the roll.
All right. Chaplin. Desart.
Here.
Krajewski.
Here.
Ozark.
Here.
Pachalski.
Here.
Say.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. We have no public comment. I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 6, 2021 regular meeting.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any changes, alterations, or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is item 6. I have a motion to approve the consent item to, is it Ecology and Environment Inc.?
Second.
Merged into WSP USA with no change in the amount. Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next is item 7. I approve the budget transfer. If you want to explain this a little bit so we can.
Well, this is just the transfer. We had, with regard to the wood chipper, we had actually planned to replace that next year. It went down. We need it. We have got tree crews out every day doing work. So we're looking to actually purchase it this year instead of next year. So we're just moving money to cover the chipper. That's the majority of the cost. And the TIG welder is just something we use across the street, obviously for our fleet maintenance and other things.
All
So,
right. Thank you. We had a motion and second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Perfect. Now, number 8, I have a motion to approve the amendment to DTP 27019 to Siorba Group for the 2019 bridge extension contract to increase the amount $40,000.
Second.
We're just doing more inspections, Chris?
Yes, that's exactly it.
yeah, just doing more inspections. One of these things, we have an annual contract and we just didn't bring somebody on in time for the next cycle. So whether it's Siorba or some other firm, it's just, we got to stay in line with the state timeline. So we got to do these this fall and early spring.
All right. All right, good. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. This is item 9, the 2022 recommended budget. Chris, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Don. And I'll wait for Wendy to bring it up there. Oh, there it is. So thank you. And so we'll go through, give a high level overview of the DOT's 22 budget. You have in front of you both the presentation that I'll be going through, and you also have a roll-up summary of our budget. That's the 11 by 17 piece of paper. Friday, we did send to you the individual accounting unit budgets. There's like 25 of them for DOT. So what I focus of today is just on the DOT operating and capital budget. We won't talk about townships because we really don't budget for that, so per se. So we'll go ahead and get started. Next slide. So high level overview, DOT gets no money from the general fund. We rely solely on 3 primary sources of funds. That's the local gas tax, which is now effective July 1, 8 cents per gallon. There's a state motor fuel tax for which we are allocated a portion by statute. Under the Rebuild Illinois, there was also a local agency bonding program, 1.5 billion with the B. And so DuPage County's share of that over 3 years is about 36 million. So we've gotten the first 2 allocations of 12 million in 20 and 21. We'll get the last allocation in 22. On the impact fees, we do assess an impact fee for new or redevelopments within DuPage County. So that makes up our core revenue. We do get federal and state grants and reimbursements for projects. We also get fees for a highway permitting process, overweight, over dimension, and we also charge other departments for vehicle maintenance and fuel. The infrastructure fund, also known as the RTA tax, can fund one of the allowable eligible projects or uses is toward transportation. In years when there has been a surplus, we have enjoyed some allocations from that. This budget this year assumes no RTA tax money for DOT. I do want to give just a quick overview on the COVID impact. In 2020, we saw numbers as high as 44% down on monthly disbursements in the local gas tax. We ended the year at 17% down. Year to date, as we sit here today, we're tracking at 15% down. The benchmark is 2019. So while we're a little bit better than next year, we're still 15% down in our local gas tax receipts. Next slide. So here's a summary of our revenue. The first column is the FY21 as approved. The middle column is what we estimate for 21, and then the third column is what we're projecting for 22. So I'll go through each line item. Local gas tax. Obviously, with COVID, we projected a 20% discount. Reduction. We normally get around 20-ish million, so 16 is what we estimated. Effective July 1, the gas tax is now 8 cents a gallon, so that's 5 more months of more. So you can see the increase for the balance of the year. We're expecting to bring in this year 23 million. For next year, the 36 million reflects a full year of the 8-cent gas tax, or essentially a doubling of what we normally would collect in the past. On the motor fuel tax, we estimated 22. We're actually going to come in about 23.2. We're expecting. The state of Illinois, through their budget process, the Illinois Department of Transportation does have several discretionary programs for local agencies. DuPage County falls under the County Consolidated Program. Historically, that's been 1.8 million we would get annually. This year, they budgeted. They increased it for all counties, and we'll be getting 3 million this year. So that's the 1.2 million. So that was nice. In 22, we're expecting to basically hold constant. We're going back to the 1.8 million. That's the historic, and some nominal, adjustments for indexing for motor fuel tax. But essentially, we're keeping it 23 million. The MFT bond, I briefly talked about that. We'll call it 12 million a year. That's the local agency component of Rebuild Illinois. So we have gotten the allotment for 21. The allotment for 22 will be the same, 11.8 million, and that'll be the third and final allotment. Impact fees, we're holding pretty steady, right around $1 million, and so we're not really projecting anything significant up or down from that in any of the years this year or next year. Finally, the other column, this is our federal and state reimbursements. This is the sale of assets, the 1901 building. This committee has talked about several times. We also get reimbursements from other departments. We had projected about 7 million. As we sit here today, we're probably closer to 3. A lot of that is because projects probably have gotten deferred because of land acquisition or agreements, and the 1901 building remains in our ownership. We're still discussing the total with the sale of that property. So what those reimbursements is, if you don't get it this year, they roll over to the following year. So you can see in FY22, we're looking at 7.6, 7.7 million. Next slide.
Before you move on, if that's okay.
Sure,
Jen.
yes, go ahead.
You were talking really fast. I just want to make
sorry.
sure I understand. So the Rebuild Illinois funds, we get that again in 2023, and then that's it. Is that what you
22.
said? 22 is the last year.
3-year, 1.5 billion distributed over 3 years, and our allotment on an annual basis is 11.8 in 2020, 21, and then we'll get in 22 we'll get our third allotment.
Thank you. Sorry.
Of course. No worries around that. Just real quick on the impact fees. What flexibility do we have to put in that we can waive some of those impact fees? It's only $1 million. And when we compete against Will, who doesn't have one, like on the Edward Don situation, all that was off hours. But I mean, we've generated 7 or 8 million in sales tax from that one entity,
Right.
But we almost lost it because of the impact fees.
Yeah, so we are going through an impact fee ordinance amendment. We're really targeting more flexibility for the use of funds, not just on the county system, but anything that benefits the
I'm
county
not
system.
collecting it.
What's that?
We're one of the only, maybe the only county that has impact fees.
Kane is the other.
Kane, okay. 'Cause
And
when we're on our south end where Will is, there's nothing, and they got more space.
Right.
To do these big warehouses and stuff, and so I'd like to see if we can do some flexibility. I know we have off hours, but because we're not collecting that much on the impact fee anyways.
Right.
But you hate to lose a development over impact fee, so giving us the flexibility to waive some of that, and I don't know what we can do with non-home rule.
Yeah, and I know we've done the time of day. We're always very flexible. They can petition us. We're doing transit-oriented design. We're formalizing that because we get a lot of downtown redevelopment, and they're on a transit line, so we are giving some consideration of that and formalizing that through the committee. So we understand that we obviously want to attract development, and sometimes the impact fee kind of works against that. So we are looking at ways to make it more
So
flexible.
there's even impact fees. I just talked to one of the developers doing downtown Lombard with that old DuPage theater, and the impact fees are kind of costly for that, but we don't have them in other counties along, well, except Kane, but along the train line. Thank you.
Next slide. Oh, operating expenses. So this summarizes our actual operating expenses. So this is personnel, commodities, contractual, and capital non-highway. So basically equipment. We generally hover right around 15.5, 16 million. The flexibility comes with Mother Nature. So depending on what she throws at us in the winter, if it's a harsh winter, we'll have overtime, fuel, and salt usage go up. And you can see on the equipment side, sometimes it spikes, but ultimately over a course of time, it does level out. But those are our actual expenses. Essentially, we're just under 16 million a year. So next slide, summary of our operating expenses. So actually, I'm summarizing is our FY21 approved budget as compared to our FY22 recommended budget. And so I'll go line item by line item. So on the personnel benefit side, last year we had 10.5 million. This year we're 11.8. It is higher. We are looking to add, we are recommending adding 6 staff to our maintenance division, equipment operators to kind of just keep up with the backlog of, we have a system that continues to expand, lane miles, sidewalks, and bike paths, and we've maintained a pretty consistent maintenance staff to take care of that. So we are looking to increase headcount by 6 in maintenance. Also improve our winter operations. Cycle times are also beginning to decline, and so this will shore up that response that we have to snow and ice. On the commodities, a little bit higher this year, 3.8 versus 4.3 this year. A lot of that is just presumptions on fuel and salt. The salt was a bit higher, and we factored in a fuel increase. On the contractual side, $1 million more, 500,000 then we budgeted a contingency just in case. So again, if we don't use it, it goes immediately right back into capital. And the other thing is it does include a $250,000 plus or minus carryover from this year. Things that won't be completed, we'll have to build next year. On the capital non-roadway, you'll recall at the July meeting, this committee approved the advanced purchase of 8 plows, given the 12 to 18 month lead time. So what we're showing in FY22 is a carryover of those plows, but another 700,000 in just basic equipment that we'll go through in a couple slides. So that's our operating budget. So 20% more. Next slide. So this is our core budget. We start with basically you have a checkbook, right? You have 28 million in it, not me, but the county does in DOT. We get about 80 million in revenue. We take out our operations from the last slide, 22 million. We'll talk about our maintenance contracts, 14 million on the next slide. Bond payment, we do have $1 million a year to offset some RZ bonds and the transfer of grounds to facilities. So that's a no net impact to DOT.
When did those expire?
That's a 35.
Is this the first principal payment?
No, this is the RZ bonds. We're close to the 10th year, and these will retire in 2035, if I recall. Carryover, these are either projects or engineering that is underway, but they will carry over into next year. So that's 7.5 million. So what we have available for new capital or new starts is called 62 million. Next slide. So real quick, here's our budget summary. 80 million ish is recommended. It's a $16 million increase over FY21, which should not be a surprise. Our revenues are much more favorable. I do want to note the O&M cost of 28%. You might remember at the last finance, I think, workshop a week or so ago, the CFO said, you know, when you look at local governments, 75% of their budgets are personnel. DOT is capital intensive. Majority of our budget is capital. We take it in, we put it right back out in the streets, make them safer, congestion relief, multimodal. And so O&M, our personnel costs, including commodities, contractual, and equipment is 28%. And the biggest element is 72% toward capital. Next slide. Real quick high level overview. These are the contracts we do every year before we do anything else. Our annual resurfacing program, 10 million. Traffic signal maintenance, we have 340 traffic signals we're responsible for, 1.6 million. You can see the others, pavement marking, drainage, and landscape maintenance. Those are our core maintenance, contract maintenance functions. There's others, but these are the biggest ones. Next slide.
So these, I'm sorry, so these are in the millions?
Yes.
Because it says
10,000 K, 10,000 thousands. So I'm sorry, 10 million. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Or I could have put 0.1 and call it billion. I'm kidding.
The K threw me off.
Yeah, I'm
so
sorry.
that means,
Yeah,
okay,
no
never
worries.
mind.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
next, move on.
So this is the capital program. So capital program is made up of engineering, land acquisition, actual construction projects that we let award and build, or participation agreements with other other agencies. Next slide. I'm not going to go through all these. These are the 2022 engineering contracts. Anything in bold is a new start, either a new project or a new phase of a project. A couple to talk about, 75th Street, we hope to have under construction next year. That's Millbrook to Green. So that's kind of the eastern edge of Naperville and the western edge of Woodridge. 87th at Woodward, big project for us. We've been working on for some time over there, right by the Bolingbrook area. The That's the other projects. We got the Cass Avenue, District 3 corridor study, look at operations between the North Frontage Road and 91st Street. East Branch DuPage River Trail in District 4. Member Olsek?
Go ahead.
Okay,
And then
so
I have
East
a
Branch
question.
DuPage River Trail, we're undergoing a feasibility study now. We hope to wrap that up. What we are looking to do is fund actual design for the section between the Prairie Path and the Great Western Trail. Obviously, we have quite a bit of work ahead of us with the UP Railroad, so we want to get that going. South of the Illinois Prairie Path, all the way to Illinois 56, the goal would be to do a federally eligible planning study. We are looking, and we have petitioned federal funds through our Congressman Caston. The other thing is, the governor has to sign a bill, House Bill 2950, that would allow us to actually spend DOT dollars, MFT local gas, on these types of projects. So we got federal funds out there, as well as a bill in Springfield that are looming, that really are going to come into play how aggressively, how quickly we move forward on anything with the East Branch.
And this is based on the engineering money, I think it was 1.25 million,
Yep.
is based on passage of some kind of an infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
So this is all tentative.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you referenced HB 7950?
HB 2950.
2950, thank you, sorry.
2950, yes, it passed both chambers, so it's awaiting governor's signature. The last one on this page, District 6 Fabian Parkway. It's one of those projects we've submitted for federal grants, but not been successful. Obviously, with Rebuild Illinois, local gas tax increase, we now have the ability to fund this with our own dollars and move forward with it expeditiously.
Okay.
Next page, again, same thing. These are engineering new starts. Anything bold is new. We hope to move forward with the Findlay Belmont Ogden intersection, highly congested with design. And then in District 1, York Road reconstruction, we just approved an LOI between us and the tollway for them to basically be the lead on that project, grant the county a $3 million credit for work they would have done, and have that be done with 394.91.
It's in the Belmont, because the Ogden is a state road, so
It's a partnership.
so that's our half.
We are partnering with them. It's 50-50, and when we get in the position to go for federal funds, we'll do that as well. And the state agreed to pick up any match or 50% of the work, because they got 50% of the way. Next slide. This is our actual 22 construction program. These are projects. I've got them listed. We talked briefly about 75th and 87th Street. Hope to have those on the street. We are rebuilding our 140 building across the street eventually, as well as an offsite, what we call yellow freight facility in the West Chicago area. So $11 million for the offsite building replacement in next year. And also we'll do an advanced contract for prefabrication of the walls for 140. So as soon as winter is done, we knock the building down, we get the walls up, and then we're back here on campus for the following winter for our snow and ice operations.
This is one of the reasons that, like, maybe your committee, Public Works, can look at something on campus here, because we're spending so much money off-site on everything. Nick.
We've done a Southwest Campus master plan with Nick and facilities, and we are shoehorned over there. Our offsite facility in West Chicago is really for cold storage.
Yeah. No, but I mean, everything we do off-site, we have so much, we pay so much money. I mean, we had the workforce net at $4 million. We got the election commission storing stuff. We're storing so much stuff and paying so much rent out of, off campus, and we got a huge amount of land out here.
To that point, I mean, we've worked with DOT on, I know that ultimately in the long-term goal, they're going to have to redo their maintenance garage over there. Does it make sense to build something? And we've been working through those iterations.
This is what Ely was trying to work on
Yeah.
before. I mean, it just from a long range.
He wasn't necessarily here. He was trying to do an eastern DuPage campus, like in the Lombard area, somewhere along the 38 corridor. But from what you're saying is, do we convert portions of the fairgrounds to what you're talking
The new
about?
building that you guys, I mean, you guys are in a.
You can say it.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Well, that building is 60 years old. So whether we rebuild it across the street or any place else, it's an expensive building. It's 25 million.
No,
This offsite storage, we could, if we go offsite and make the building bigger, we're going to pay for it one way or the other. So right now what we found is to purchase land and bring utilities, it's much more cost effective to rebuild our 140 building here in the footprint we have, enlarge it a little bit, but also keep our yellow freight. We own the property in West Chicago. We purchased it years ago. And again, it's offsite storage. We're there twice a year. We drop off mowers, bring plows, and vice versa. Next slide. This is our equipment purchases. You'll see the very first one is the 8 plow trucks that we discussed and was approved through committee and board already. So those are already kind of been procured, if you will. And hopefully we'll take delivery and pay for them in 22. The rest of the equipment is listed. Majority is replacement of just old equipment that's beyond its service life for our day-to-day purposes. So those are all listed there. Next page. I'd like to give a high-level overview of our 5-year program. I like the next slide a lot. And you can't see it in the upper right-hand corner, but it's $408 million over 5 years. This same slide last year was 311. So obviously with the flow of revenue coming to DOT through decisions by our board, through Rebuild Illinois, all that money, the extra 100 million a year is going right back into capital. You'll see those percentages are exactly the same. We're about 70-something% capital and a much smaller for day-to-day operations. So that's our 5-year, all funds, federal, state, county. So that's all funds, 408 million. Next slide. This is our capital program just with county money. So this is our local gas, MFT, and impact fees. So you kind of see the ramping up in 22, 23 to reflect that extra 12 million a year from the Rebuild Illinois program. Then in 24, 25, and the out years, we begin to kind of level off. Our program is better aligned with our projected revenue streams. Next page. We do have the Century Hill light service area. So in 2016, under the ACT initiative, there was the Century Hill area in unincorporated Downers Grove, if I recall. Downers Grove? Lyle Township, I guess. So they had a lighting district, and under the ACT initiative, we absorbed them into ours. The levy is the money we collect is strictly for them. We have an annual contract, traffic signal maintenance. You saw that 1.6 million, much more cost effective for them if we handle the day-to-day maintenance, routine repairs, and ultimately work closely with them on ultimately replacing their 80 or so light poles over time. And with that, I will turn it over to the last slide, which is if there's any questions.
All right, I'm gonna point of order. I know Vice Chairman has another meeting, so I'm gonna let Mary go first because she's got a commitment to another committee. So if you have any questions, you can start it and then we'll go from there.
I am good for right now, but I'm
Okay.
sure I will have,
Of
when I
course.
do my homework, I'll have
Okay.
more questions. Thank
All
you.
right, does anybody have anything?
I had one.
All right,
I got the same meeting. So I see the $250,000, that's the 5, or you mentioned new personnel we're getting for this year.
Yeah.
But the regular salaries are up like 5.5%.
Yeah, I looked at that. I think when we did the budget last year, we had several unfilled positions. And when we summed the spreadsheet, it didn't incorporate those. So it just looks like, because I looked at it too.
So that's just factoring in like a 2% COLA, but it's
Yeah,
all.
it should have been 2%, like admin is spot on, it's 2%. It's the other, because we had several vacancies in maintenance, and when I look
So
back.
we just didn't budget it, we budgeted less than what you actually. All right.
anything? I have a question. We met several times with the sheriff's office and scales, and that was gonna be a source of revenue. Are we proceeding with that? Or has that kind of been on hold, or what are we doing with it?
My understanding is that the sheriff is running with it. They're going to be getting the training through Oxcart, and then they were going to look at municipal partnerships on the scales because there's some limitations where they can do it and how you
Because that was a
implement a
revenue
program.
source that I thought had some potential, and everybody seemed, but that's still in the works, correct?
It's still in the works, and some of the sheriff's office is very interested,
All right.
but it would all, the way the money's trickle down.
Why don't we just buy them? We got the money and
Well,
transportation,
have
let's
that,
just,
yeah.
let's just go buy them. They're not
Yeah,
that
this has
expensive.
been good because it's all projects, and
Yep.
that's the key thing. So Dawn, anything would you like to? question?
No, I do agree with Member Krajewski, though, before he leaves the room, I agree with him. I'd like to see more things brought on campus instead of spending rent all over the
Yes,
place.
you're right.
You could save a lot of money, in my opinion, but I mean, I know that you've got the storage issue with literally tons of equipment.
Yes.
But I do support bringing more things on campus and not paying rent.
I think everybody has that same belief that it's better to be owners than renters, so let's.
And just for DOT, we do own our facilities, so ours are not rented. We're actually building a new building that will be ours. The existing one is ours. It's just well beyond its service life. So we own the buildings, and it's a $5 million building no matter where you build it in the county.
I just want to say, I think this is the most exciting budget presentation that I've seen of all the departments, because so much more is just going right back into the community,
It's all
creating
project.
jobs and that sort of thing, so it's all good.
Great
Yep.
brief, that 1,000%.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yep.
All
Thank
right,
you,
Jim,
everyone.
anything? Okay.
We got
now
another
we're-
half hour.
Item 10, report from the state's attorney.
Nothing at this time, Mr.
Does
Chairman.
anybody have anything under old business? Anything under new business? And if not, without objection, we stand adjourned. Great job, Chris.
Good job,
Thank
Chris.
you.
And staff.